Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Closeout Convo. It is the end of week 160, and different scenery this time. I'm currently in a hotel in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm here because yesterday I did the Dirt Dash, which is a trail marathon to complete my 8th marathon in the 8th state to enter the Union. So, that will be the main topic for today. We got here Friday in the morning, kind of hung out in the city. I did do a 7-mile run there. And then yesterday morning was the race, Saturday morning. So, for months leading up to this, the race had been at 8:30. I know this for a fact because I said to a lot of people, it's at 8:30. It's in South Carolina in September. I feel like it's going to be hot. I'd rather do it at 6 or 6:30 or 7. Started a little bit earlier so that I'm not running in the heat later on. I remember saying that so many times to people, thinking that 8:30 was a late start time for the marathon. So, we get to the race. It's about like 7:30, 7:20 maybe. I get to the packet pickup, get everything, go use the bathroom. Then my mom and I, who was with me this whole time, go back to our car, which is about 200 yards away from the start, but it's like between like trees, like the parking lot's in one section, the race is in another section. You gotta like cut through this group of trees, so you can't really see it. So hanging out there, I ate like a few last minute snacks, and then at about 8:12, I'm like, okay, let's go over, because like I'm not going to do a warm-up because it's a trail marathon. I was planning on taking it easier to begin with anyway, so I was just not going to warm up pretty much. And we walk over there, everything's very quiet, and I'm starting to feel a little bit uneasy. But we cut through the trees. I see a group of spectators kind of surrounding where the race would be. And I look at the start line and nobody is gathered there, which immediately tips me off that something's off here. I confirmed this by then looking at the clock, which is at about 17 minutes. And then, the realization fully dawns on me that the race has started. And I have obviously missed the start. So, quickly I strip down my shorts and short sleeve that I had on, hand it to my mom. Now I'm just in my short shorts. Go over to the race director and I'm like, so the race has already started? And she's like, yeah, we started at 8. And I'm like, okay, well, can I just start right now? And she's like, yeah, I'd get going because I crossed over the mat. She was like, you probably already triggered it, so just go ahead right now. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. Get going. I'm alone for like the first 2 miles. The course was an 8-loop course, each lap being about 3.3 miles. It was closer to 3.2, but I'll get to that a little bit later. But my first lap, pretty lonely, because I was, the only one out there. Everybody else I started at exactly 8:19, so everybody else had 19 minutes on me. So, continuing on, I start passing kind of the stragglers towards the back, and then I get passed by a half marathoner who's only doing 4 laps, and I'm like, hey. So, I noticed that, the start was at 8. Was there some sort of email that I missed? And like, did they say that the race has moved up to 8? And he was like, oh yeah, like they sent it out a few days ago. And so then I'm like, okay, so it is like fully on me. Like, I could have checked the night before to make sure the start time, but I had it so ingrained in my head, 8:30. And yeah. Continuing on, I go through each lap getting a little bit tougher, but overall, I felt really good. Never was really a moment where I'm like, man, I'm like exhausted, just kept feeling good. Felt like I could go forever until about, I would say it got a little bit tough toward like 22, 23. But at that point, I'm on the last loop. And yeah, pretty much over. But one quick second. But once I get towards the finish, I see a guy ahead of me who I notice, he's going pretty fast. Like most of the time I was flying by people because they are, doing the marathon at a little bit of a slower pace. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, if somebody's doing really well in the race, I might not have even seen them because I started 19 minutes after them. If I'm like slowly tracking them down, I could be not in first. I could be like, it was unknown where exactly I was in the race. And then I had the question in the back of my mind too of, are they going to take chip time or gun time? Because if they take chip time, I could theoretically do the race faster than somebody else, but they finish before me. And I had already decided in my head, if that scenario played out, I was going to sort of not take whatever. I saw their like trophy thing over by the snacks and everything at the start finish. And so my plan was, if that happened and they took my chip time, I was just going to offer the first place trophy to the second place person. Just because I'd feel bad that they had no knowledge of me being out there. So in their head, they're winning. It's not fair to them. But I get to the end. I'm coming up on this guy, back to the guy, towards the last loop. And I get right up next to him because at this point I'm like, if this guy's in first, it'd be nice if I were to just beat him head to head so that there's no controversy. But I come up on him. He's younger than me, I think, by a little bit. And he's doing really well. I can tell he's like close to being done. And he looks over at me and he's like, "Are you on your last loop?" And I was like, yeah, I'm finishing right now. And then he's like, "All right, let's go, man." And then he starts sprinting and like sub 5 minute pace. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going with it. Because the course like finished around like this curve. And so he whips around the curve and kind of leaves me in the dust. But I was probably going like mid 5 minute. But on the trails and on the dirt, it was pretty tough. Just working my way up to him because it took me like a full mile to catch him. That's how fast he was going. So in my head, I'm like, okay, this guy could be like a contender. Turns out that was the 4th place finisher. So there had been 3 guys before the 2 of us that had already come in. And I'm a little bit like, okay, could I have possibly run a faster time than the 1st place guy? So I go up to the race director again and I'm like, hey, I think I ran the fastest time because I'm assuming because they hadn't lapped me and it was about 23 minutes a lap. And I had never seen any of these guys out there because they were always on the opposite end of me. So I was like, is it possible, like, if I win, to not have me place, but just have my time count? And I think she kind of misunderstood what I was saying because she was like, oh yeah, well, you ended up 5th. And I was like, yeah, right. But like chip time. And then she explained to me, we're not taking chip time. We're only taking gun time. And then when she did the announcements, she was hyping up the guy that won because he got another course record, even though I would have gotten the course record. Do I think that because this guy was a local and I'm somebody from Michigan, several states away, that she might have been like, oh, no. We're going to take gun time, not chip time, because we don't want this Michigander guy to win. I'm not saying it's impossible. I don't think it's likely. I think it was always going to be gun time. But just a theory. And Yeah, so it all worked out. I was totally fine, like, not getting a trophy. And I would say the one thing I'm a little bummed about is not having the course record, because it initially was 319 and the guy ran 317 and I ran like 310 if it would have been chip time. So a little bit disappointed in that, but at the same time, it's just a course record. And the main mission, as I said on my Strava, was to do a marathon in South Carolina. And that happened. And I had fun while doing it. The course was a little bit short. I think I finished at like 25.7. So then I just did like a little out and back to get to 26.22. So yeah, that was my experience. I was kind of thinking about it all race about, are they going to take chip time or gun time? I thought that they were going to take chip time, but turns out they did not. But yeah, still go down as a result in an official South Carolina marathon. It's been a very fun time here. My mom and I are going to leave this evening. I just finished a 2.9 mile run to get to 100. So week 160 is complete. And yeah, next week, hopefully, doesn't take me as long to recover as some of the other things I've done. I actually felt fine on my run this morning, but sometimes that's happened and then a few days go by and then it really hits me. Exactly 100 days before this, I did the Maryland Marathon, which was number 7. The next marathon is in New Hampshire. Almost assuredly will be November 9th. I don't think I've officially signed up for it, but these last two I took a little bit easier after the Boston Marathon in April. But for the November New Hampshire Marathon, I think I'm going to take it a little bit harder and go for a PR. Get faster than 2:44:21, which is what I was at Boston. But yeah, talk to you next week. Next week I might be doing something a little bit different, so stay tuned for that. See you later.